Hey there, I'm Julie Tam, managing broker of LYN Realty in Houston, and thank you so much for joining me for Smarter Real Estate weekly on Wednesdays. We are continuing my series, Building My Dream Home, and this week we are looking into very detailed level of floor plans. Really, I think this is going to be the final video I do about our floor plans, and today we're going to be looking at the roof, a wider plot plan, engineering plans, air duct plan, and let me see if I missed anything. Nope, that's it. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail because, first of all, I'm not an engineer, so I really can't go beyond a certain level. And second of all, that would just be really boring. So we're going to focus on higher level, more exciting stuff, good things for you to know if you are trying to build your new home or do any home remodeling, if you can make any decisions. These are some good tips to arm yourself with. In some cases, you really don't have much of a say because it's all about the engineering. Some things are required by code. An inspector will ultimately inspect your home. Hopefully you will get a home inspection and then they will make sure everything is done correctly. I'll explain to you a little bit more about the inspection process and what you should do. And also, how a city might send an inspector, but how that is different from a home inspector that you would hire, a private home inspector. And then we'll just look at each page of the plan that pertains to all of these things. And so I hope that you'll learn a lot and take a lot away from this. All right. Once again, if you do like this video and have learned something by the end of it, I hope you will like it and send me a message or make a comment, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, as I will continue to take you along on my real estate adventures and arm you with practical strategies to be a smarter buyer, seller, tenant, or landlord. And of course, there will be much more to come in this series of Building My Dream Home, as we have just begun with groundbreaking. And, there's a lot more exciting stuff to come. To tease you a little bit on that, not only will I show you the construction process, but I'm going to take you through a lot of my selections, decisions, and processes to give you some good strategies when you are making selections, again, for when you're building your own new home, whether it be a custom or a semi-custom, or maybe it's a spec house that the builder is already in the process of building, but you have an opportunity to make selections. And then also if you're doing home remodeling where you're going to be making selections as well. So a lot of good stuff, because I've learned a lot over the years in making my own home selections as I've built. This is now my second brand new home to build from the ground up. And I've also advised a lot of clients and been along with them for their journeys in the home building process. And so I've got a lot of information to share with you guys, and I'm happy to do so. All right, so let me go ahead and launch into a screen share. And go ahead and show you guys what I have here. So I have redacted some more private information, as you can see with the black bars, but this is the plot plan. Now, I have shown you in previous episodes a little bit more of a zoomed in plot plan, and this is a wider look at the plot. And so what you can see, the plot meaning the footprint of this property, of this home, is you can see how they put in a little live oak tree back there and one up here. Turns out the city of Houston actually has a list of several trees, different tree types that you can plant. You are allowed to plant on your property, and you are actually required to plant a certain number of trees for a certain amount of square footage. I don't know what those rules are because I'm not the builder, but I know this from a real estate broker's perspective and having assisted a builder in selling new homes. And so I know what's required. And so the city inspector will come through and inspect to make sure you do have those trees. Sorry, I'm feeling like I'm about to sneeze. Okay. And on that note of inspectors, I'm going to go and land on the front elevation of our home, so you can look at that and get yourself familiar before I go into more detailed pages. But I'll talk about the inspection process. So some cities, including the city of Houston, we have city inspectors. So they're going to come around a bunch of times, just periodically after each stage, after the foundation is laid, after, the framing is done, and just a bunch of different stages throughout the entire process, literally dozens of times to inspect on a little bit of a higher level. They're going to make sure that city codes have been followed, but they're not going to inspect for perfection. They're not going to point out every little thing that's wrong with your home. So you will want to make sure you hire your own private inspector that is licensed by, in the state of Texas, it would be TREC, Texas Real Estate Commission, an inspector license. It's best to hire a professional engineer. In fact, some builders actually require that because they want an opinion from a PE, not just a basic licensed inspector, although those inspectors have a wealth of knowledge as well. And you're going to want to bring in an inspector in the pre-drywall stage. I always say go ahead and do that. If you have the opportunity, why not? For an average size home, you're looking to spend just a few $100s. For a larger home, you might spend several hundred or 1,000 or more, but you're talking about a very large investment. This is a very small percentage of the total cost of your home build. Why not have an inspector come out to look? I know, for example, there were some people that I know, and I won't name them, but after a few years of them living in their home, all of a sudden one day a wall just became wet because a nail had rusted through, gone through a pipe, and the water had just come out. So basically it no longer was a perfect seal because of the rusting. Now there was a gap. Now the inspector may or may not have caught that. It may or may not have been a red flag at that time, but there are things like that that could be occurring behind the wall that once you close up those walls, you can't see them anymore. And so now you've lost your chance. Obviously, you may think of it this way. Well, if I bought an existing home, I couldn't inspect behind the walls anyway. And that's fine if you want to think that way, but I just like to go ahead and spend the extra money for my own peace of mind because I have the opportunity to. Okay, so there's that. Now, after the home is completed, you'll want to bring the inspector back to check for everything else. Okay. Oh, one other thing I want to mention is that some builders actually do hire a third-party private company to inspect their homes so that way they can give their buyers more peace of mind and be able to say that, look, we've got a third-party inspector checking on things as well. But you have to think that they may have a conflict of interest. I don't know, but that's someone the builder hires. You should hire your own inspector that's going to be on your side and go ahead and let the inspector walk through their findings. And then, of course, they'll send you a report with details and photographs, usually within the next day or after you've paid them within the next day after that. And so that you can get all those details from your own inspector. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is the air duct plan, the AC layout. Now, this shows only the first floor for now. And really, the drafter that put this together is not qualified to do a full plan. So once the HVAC company looks at this house, when the time comes, after it's gotten to that stage, they may make some changes or additions. But I do want to point out a few things that you can potentially have control over. So there are certain rules, obviously, as to where certain AC supply and return air vents need to be and where the ductwork needs to be and that sort of thing. And so you can't control everything. But what you can do in some cases is locate those big, unsightly I think they're about 12 by 24 inch rectangular return air vents in places that are a little bit less obvious. So I'll tell you, for example, here, originally it was on this plan as being right here. So the symbol for the return air vent is this diagonal striped rectangle. And it was going to be like right in the middle of the living room, as in I'm just sitting here enjoying my time on the couch and I look up to the ceiling, or I'm standing there, with my family or guests, and boom, there it is, just this eyesore, right? So we didn't want that. And so we ended up moving it over here to the butler's pantry, where fewer people are going to be going through. It's a little bit more acceptable because a butler's pantry is kind of like, it's not like a closet, obviously, because it's visible, it's open. It's actually a bar too. In our case, it's part butler, part bar, but at least it's not in the middle of the living room, which is really a place of beauty, right? And respite. So you don't want to just be seeing that on your ceiling. And so we've got that there. Now, there will have to be another return air vent over the breakfast area, unfortunately. So it's going to be visible as a very visible area. Some things you just can't help, they're required. But yeah, you want to try to, get it the color, as close to the color of your ceiling as possible, or if it's on a wall, the color of your wall paint, just so it's not so obvious. One thing that I had done as well in my current home is because those return air vents are in pretty obvious places along the stairway. And we didn't know any better. This was our first home to build from scratch. And this was a semi-custom. It wasn't as expensive as a project as this one. And so, of course, we didn't really know. And, but right now, this is so much more important because this is a much more expensive home. We want to make sure that it's done just right. Well, it was painted a color, and I don't even remember what color it was now, but where it made it pretty obvious. And so I wanted to make sure the inside was painted black so that it would really appear recessed into the wall, just not as obvious. And then the grill was painted to match the color of our paint. So again, it's just not as obvious. It just blends in much, much nicer, because our paint color in our current home is actually a very soft beige. It's called Killam beige, which at the time was the most popular color for builders to select in the United States. Sherwin-Williams color. It's probably a little bit, not as in fashion these days. But nevertheless, we didn't want the return air vent, the metal part, to be just a bright white and just stand out. So it got painted Killam beige so that it could just blend in a little bit better. Okay. Scrolling down here, this is the roof plan. Do not ask me how to read this because I'm not a roofer, nor an engineer, nor a builder, so I really don't know. But when you look at the plan, you can actually look at the legend and kind of see, where certain ridges are, and different parts of your roof. You will want to get a gutter system that properly drains water out without water just pouring onto and hitting certain parts of your home, especially if your roof is pitched in such a way, right, where the water could just really rush down and hit certain parts of your house. So you're going to want to have a gutter to help mitigate that. Okay, a whole house gutter, I should say. All right, so going to this PDF, this is the drainage plan. So real exciting stuff. Again, I don't know how to read this, but I just wanted to show you how cool is it that an engineer went through and actually figured out every detail, exactly the slope and the elevation of every little part of the entire lot that our house is gonna be built on. So just, getting all those details figured out. Let me see here. I'm gonna move something out of the way so I can click on the next little tab. I'm gonna close this actually so I can see the next tab more easily, since I have my, to you don't see this, but to me, I see my face covering like a quarter of the screen. So that's why I'm having a hard time seeing the little tabs at the top of the PDF to click on them. Okay, this is the foundation. Again, showing all of the piers that are going under the house because we are in a floodplain. And let me see. One cool thing I thought, you may not be able to read this tiny little footnote here, but that this house is built to withstand, or will be built to withstand 110 mile per hour wind gusts. Not for like 5 hours, for only 3 seconds. But it's, done this way because we are in an area that is hit by hurricanes in Houston, the Gulf Coast. This is the frame. So showing again where all your framing goes. There's a lot of detail in different sections. They do vent calculations and all sorts of stuff. And then finally, a more detailed roof plan. So showing rafter brace connection with strong back. Squinting. The text is so small on my screen right here. And so really giving you a lot of detail, the design loads and everything. And you've heard me mention, if you've watched previous videos, I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share, that the engineering plans were what gave the builder enough information and detail for him to then send off to certain contractors, like the person who's going to lay the concrete foundation or the roofer, for example, to be able to get a more accurate pricing for us. And so, God bless those engineers who are creating all the details to make sure the house doesn't fall down, because it's not just about the design and the floor plan, but you need everything to function properly from an engineering standpoint. All right, so in coming weeks, once again, I'll take you along on more selections to show you what I've looked at, thought processes, and then ultimately what we have chosen for our selections, my husband and I. And fortunately, we have very similar tastes, so that just takes away a lot of or pretty much any conflict in that regard. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great week. And I'll see you again on a future episode of Smarter Real Estate Weekly on Wednesdays on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great one. Bye.